AFT in 1916 passed resolutions having to do with the Hungarian teachers who were being underpaid. It's in our DNA. The motto of the AFT is democracy in education, education for democracy. That's the kernel, I think, around which everything in our international work revolves.
Building democracy and building workers' rights around the world is an important part of the AFT. You know, as a teacher, it's a value you instill in your kids.
Peace and justice for Israelis and Palestinians.
That is part of who we are, fighting for economic dignity, for educational dignity, for respect, for tolerance, for democracy.
It's about that special role we have to educate.
There is no freedom or democracy without trade unionism. The first thing a dictator does is get rid of the trade unions.
If you look at the 80s, in many countries where people are fighting for freedom, teacher organizations are in the forefront.
What the AFT has done over the years is indeed to help groups of teachers to work towards democratic change in their countries.
The operation to seal Poland was mounted quickly.
In 1981, when martial law was declared in Poland, AFT supported the underground Solidarność Union by providing funding for communications equipment and printing presses that were smuggled in piece by piece to disrupt the totalitarian regime.
We were warmly received by our fellow unionists in Poland and in Czechoslovakia.
Yes, this is the beginning of the beginning.
To support noble impulses for a more open society, for more democratic dynamics, and for building an educational system that would promote and sustain them.
De los profesores de Chile, su pueblo.
You will accompany us in the challenge to reconstruct education, to reconstruct democracy, and to build a new nation for all Chileans.
In Chile, AFT helped the Colegio de Profesores Union change from an organization controlled by Pinochet to one leading the fight for democracy and the successful campaign for the no. AFT sent election observers to guarantee a democratic vote.
It's just really moving. I mean, it was an honor to play even a small part in helping them bring back democracy.
We're talking about a new South Africa, a South Africa that is now open and democratic, and a South Africa that has potential that's unlimited.
Apartheid's collapse gave South African teacher unions newfound freedom to build their organization.
There was an opportunity that we had to grab with both hands as an organization.
In a country like South Africa, where you have 25 million people, most of whom did not have jobs, did not have housing, you need a strong union movement.
90% of our funding came from donor organizations, including the AFT.
We shared with them what kind of structures we had, and we had people to go in to work with them.
So they brought the knowledge around organizing because we were at the beginning of building an organization. We decided to finally had an organizing strategy and a retention strategy. We are where we are today because of the solidarity we have received from the AFT.
This partnership was instrumental in addressing the AIDS crisis in Southern Africa.
You actually had a pandemic of teachers becoming sick and dying, such that there was a growing shortage of teachers. We helped them develop publications, conduct meetings, and to hold conferences.
As educators, the sooner we know our status, the better.
Helping our teachers to accept the reality that we needed to do the testing, we needed to do counseling, and be able to help our children and our teachers in the school.
Nice to see you. How are you?
AFT has always seen itself as part of the greater global community, bringing attention to child labor, reducing HIV/AIDS infections, or making sure everyone has the right to vote.
In Haiti, AFT and Vermont nurses partnered with Public Services International to start a healthcare clinic for Haitian union members.
And some people have no place to go. And this is affording an opportunity for not only the union members, but their families.
I've always known the AFT to be an organisation that understands the importance of working internationally with other education unions to bring about a social justice and equity across the world.
Classic example of that would be our partnership around Civic Voices, spearheaded by the AFT.
But I do remember Bloody Sunday.
To work on the ground, we're in schools and colleges in Northern Ireland in a period just immediately after the Troubles.
Also, my mother and father were quite worried about me because I was coming out of a totally loyalist area.
To try to bring communities together around stories of civil rights activism.
The greatest threat to public education around the world is the growing commercialisation and privatisation of education. This is the time where we need to come together to confront this phenomenon.
A great example of this common fight is the profiteering by Pearson.
The Pearson business model is still very focused on high-stakes testing.
In the global north, they push high-stakes testing. In the global south, they undermine public schools by pushing so-called low-fee private schools.
It is about profiteering from a poor child.
The costs that families are being charged is 40% of their daily income.
Many children will be left out. Inequalities that have been created by apartheid will then be tripled. It will have huge cost for our country.
We are looking at what's going on in education throughout the globe and to see where things are being done well and what we can replicate in the United States. In seeing the math classes, it's about visualization as opposed to memorization.
The institute that trains the teachers, it is the heart of the whole education system.
In Singapore, I saw how respect for teachers is critical to their success.
Hi, how are you?
Teachers are appreciated in this country.
You feel it?
Yeah, I do.
In Finland, it was pretty remarkable how little attention schools paid to standardized test results, instead focusing on the whole child.
Cooperative learning is one of the well-practiced idea in Finnish schools. When people ask me that where did you get all these great ideas in your school system and your classrooms, most of these good ideas that we are using are from the United States.
Ironically, we've had the opposite with No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. When we engage in the world, we can show the policymakers in America what really works.
A recent trip to Chile not only reinvigorated AFT's long relationship with the Colegio de Profesores, but also highlighted the dangers of their market-based educational system.
We have to work together to lift up education across the world, public education across the world. We have some of the same battles. We have many of the same aspirations.
Nos permite hacer un intercambio.
We've been able to share experiences with the problems of a market-based educational system, which in Chile has led to stratification and segregation.
The people who need the most get the least. The people who need the least get the most.
I think this is a sign of things to come potentially in the United States. You know, public education is something that we took for granted for years and years. I don't think we can be comfortable with that assumption. I look forward to continuing the relationships, building a broad consensus around a vision of public education.